Hello, everybody, and welcome back again to the Planet Film Network. I am one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I'm your other host, TJ Cornwell.
And forgive me if my mic sounds muddy or like I'm in a tin can or anything like that. I'm still working out some different tech stuff, but I think we should be good to go for today's episode. And in today's episode, as you can see by everything around us here, we are going to be talking about the season 5 season finale, series finale, the full finale of The Boys series, which finally came to a close this week on Amazon Prime Video after 7 years. So we are going to be talking all about that. We're also a little bit later going to be talking about The Mandalorian and Grogu. So please join us for that. Let us know all the thoughts you might have down below. If you didn't watch The Boys or anything like that, I will try to put a time code in the description to jump ahead over to the Mandalorian topic. But also I'm sure you can just scrub through on the YouTube pane and find it there as well. So without further ado, TJ, let's jump in. I know that you got a little bit behind, as did I, with the first few weeks of this show, but got fully caught up on The Boys in time for the finale. What were your thoughts overall on season 5? I know the internet has had a lot to say about this season, everything like that, but now that it's all wrapped up, what were your thoughts on season 5 as a whole? And then a little bit of how you thought it wrapped it up before we get into full-fledged spoilers.
Yeah, I think a few weeks back we had talked about the first 2 episodes when they showed up, and that's kind of the last time we talked about this season. And I think overall, those first 2 episodes, I was kind of mixed. I liked them for the most part. I was a little mixed on. I think I had some issues with the dialogue. Kimiko being one that stood out, and obviously, like I had said before, obviously this is the first time she was speaking in the entire show. So her learning to speak and all that stuff, it's a little, it makes sense where her dialogue is coming from and how she's talking, but it kind of was overbearing at times. So I would say, to look at the season as a whole, I thought it overall is like a finale, closing on a show. I thought it was pretty good. Definitely, I think had its bumps in the roads, and specifically for me, where we're kind of seeing them off and not seeing them ever again. I would have liked, I think, a little bit more moments for particular characters that I felt like had maybe a bigger impact on the show. But overall, I thought with only 8 episodes, they did probably the best that they could do. And kind of speaking to the finale, I thought was good. Again, I think I wanted more from specific characters, specifically like Daveed Diggs' character. Like I wanted more from him at the end. I thought he kind of his kind of wrap up, I thought was kind of just like we were kind of building to something, and then it was very quick and done, and it's like, all right, on to the next thing. And I didn't know about the comic ending versus this show ending, and kind of, we have a character that shows up in the comic that is like, he's been here the whole time and he's doing things that you thought this other guy was doing, but actually it's this guy. I think that would have been interesting to see. I'm glad they didn't go that way. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a good finale. It wasn't great. And I'm glad that the show's over, because I think with this season you kind of started to get the feeling it's like, okay, I think it's definitely time that we end the show and we move on to new things in this universe.
Yeah, I definitely well, first of all, I'm glad. I feel like you came out more positive on it than I thought maybe you were going to. But I think largely I agree. I think I would probably, the only thing I would change is I would say I do think the finale itself was pretty great, in my opinion. I definitely agree with Oh Father and like Stan Edgar and like just a couple of these characters that like do get wrapped up, even like Sage, like they do get wrapped up and they do get like character exits, but like all 3 of those together are all like maybe like a minute and a half of like wrap up scenes. And then like for Stan Edgar, we literally see him for like 45 seconds. But I do agree that like or I do see like for those 45 seconds, like it's everything that we needed to know. Like it's not like it was just him standing there. You know, he's like, "This is what we're doing. This is what's going to happen now. This is what I'm going to do." You know.
Yeah.
So I did like that, but overall, I think that the last season for sure had like just some stuff that like I do agree that like there was a lot of like stuff that was to help set up the Vaught Rising show. And I totally get that. And I just think that a lot of people had like way bigger issues with that. But to me, it's like I'm excited for that show. So like I was happy that we touched on that and that we like got some stuff with those characters and some explanations of things. And I was happy with the amount of Jensen Ackles like Soldier Boy that we got in this season.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally understand the like, oh, you know, you put him on ice for the finale and stuff. And it's like, well, yes, but also like this isn't his show. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I was okay with kind of like, all right, we're gonna kind of put him back on ice, and like if we revisit that in Vaught Rising, we do. If we don't, then you know, I think it's just one of those things. Like I feel like a lot of people online too were like, this needed to wrap up every single thing ever established like by the universe, like that Vought as a whole needed to be like brought down and stuff like that. And I do think that I'm happy with where they left it, that it's like this show was about yes, Vought and all these other things and all these other evil people and stuff, but really it's about this one guy, and can we stop one guy? And I think that that's what the show addressed, and that's I think what they pulled off really, really well.
I would say real quick, just speaking back to like Jensen Ackles and everything, like I think he is. I will watch Vought Rising for him specifically because I think I said this, like I think he's hilarious in The Boys. Like every no joke that character makes, I never roll my eyes. Like I just find everything he says so funny, and I think he just has done a great job in the show in general. And I have been, I would say he might be close to my favorite character, honestly.
I had a moment in episode 7 where I was like, man, I just really love him in this role. And and when we talked about episodes 1 and 2 on this show, I was like, I don't know, he feels almost like a caricature of who he was in season 3, but then I feel like that kind of melted away pretty fast. And like they actually did give him, you know, some stuff to talk about, whether it's like his connections to the people from the past or just straight up his connection with, you know, his son, with Homelander. I thought that all that stuff was great. In addition to, I think that all of his comedy pretty largely works like most of the time, if not all the time. But let's start talking about the end itself. I think let's just get right into full spoilers. So we've kind of been brushing on spoilers as well, but full spoilers here on out for The Boys. Let's talk about the big ending in the White House, the big ending in the 7 headquarters, and then let's talk about how some of these characters ended. What were your thoughts on? Let's start with the big moment itself. Homelander dead.
I thought that was all great. I thought it was a good fight. Maybe not as good as, what was that, season 3? I want to say, was that the fight
the one in the tower?
Or was it? No, it was like the house or whatever with the.
The fight at Herogasm. That was also season 3.
Okay, I thought that was all good. I liked Ryan showing up, flying through. I thought that was really good.
I loved his scene at the beginning of the episode too. Just finally like telling off Homelander like once and for all.
I think that is somebody I wanted a little bit more of and sprinkled throughout other episodes. Like I think he's heavily in like 4 or 5, I want to say episode 4 or 5. And then he's obviously in this episode. But I feel like we kind of pulled back on him a decent amount this season. And I would have liked a little bit, you know, a few more moments in there. Kind of just bring him along, that character. I love the Kamiko kind of, you know, seeing that vision of Frenchie and obviously putting in the final blast. I love the ending where he loses his powers and he's trying to fly away and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound crazy, and I'm going to sound like a crazy person, but him like and I think it's just for me, like, because he really is, and they really go into this season with like A-Train and a bunch of other characters where it's like you're just like a boy, like you're just some puny little, scared little tiny boy. And when he's like pleading for his life, like I felt bad because I was like,
no, I think I'm right there with you. Yeah,
it's just one of those things where it's like, man, this is a terrible person, but seeing somebody just like plead for their life and like that they're awful and they get everything that's coming to them, but I just couldn't help but feel empathy in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that comes down a lot, I think, to Anthony Starr's performance.
Right.
It's just insane. Like, I've been watching that clip, like, not on repeat, but I've watched that a decent couple of times when he wakes up and he's like, that whole 3 minutes, like the last 3 minutes that we get of him, from waking back up to the desk is so great, because the first 2 minutes is almost completely silent, and it's just he wakes up and he's like, and it's almost like he's breathing for the first time. Like it's like he doesn't even, like, breathing doesn't even come naturally to him anymore because he's so used to, like, I don't know. It's almost like you could think like his superpower had like a built-in like air purifier, and now he's like choking on like the just regular air. And then when he does and nothing happens. It's like Billy got. He's like I just loved all of the silence. And then Billy's speech at the end there of like, this is for Frenchie, and then this is for Becca. I thought, and as soon as he says this one's for Frenchie, you're like, oh my god, if that's what he's doing for Frenchie, like what's he gonna do for Becca? And then obviously did not disappoint. But what did you think? Yeah, I didn't. So I knew about. So what you alluded to is the Black Noir twist from the comics. I knew about that for years. So that was something that like made me pretty upset after, I think it was season 2 is when I found that out. Very glad that the show just really didn't go there at all. But luckily, I guess the actual death with the crowbar and the desk, that's all completely like from the comics. Like that's the end in the comics. I didn't know anything about that. So I was like, I felt complete. To me, it's like, okay, if I knew about a twist that they didn't even end up doing, like I'm relieved that that's what I knew and not like the actual end from the comics, because that was a complete surprise. And when I saw after the episode, like the side-by-sides, I was like, oh wow, they really stuck to the comic book accurate, like death, like the physical death, which I thought was great as well. Just like ruthless, like it felt so in line with like Butcher as a character that it's like a lot of people, that are like, oh, they should have just had him live because that's the greatest punishment. And it's like, yeah, but then you don't get the catharsis of our main characters getting the victory. Like if Homelander just gets to live, even if he's depowered, like that might be a satisfying end for him, but that like removes the satisfaction from basically the entire like main crew of our characters. So I thought that the way that they did it, with it being Billy and Ryan together and Kimiko obviously, but like Billy at the end there, and then everybody comes in at the end and like gets to see like, and then jumping kind of forward to the funeral at the end of the episode, Huey makes a great line where he's like, he said he was going to do it, and then somehow he actually fucking did it. Like he like the fact that like thinking back to this show, it felt so refreshing that it's like, I don't know, like you think about somebody like Vecna, and it's like Homelander was just such an effectively acted and effectively written character that it's like Vecna, you're like, okay, how are they going to beat Vecna? Like this finale, I was genuinely shocked when they actually beat Homelander. Like, and I think that that's like a really big plus of this show, is that it's like right up until the last second, you really didn't know which way it was going to go. Like
Mhm.
like it really could have just like everybody was just scrapping in the Oval Office, and like he could get away. It could be whatever. Like it could just not work. And I do think that like things like, you know, the actual steps that we got there, again, kind of going back to talking about the season as a whole, I do think that like just things could have been tightened up, and things could have been like more like shined more light on like setting up like the whole like we're gonna give Kamiko Soldier Boy's blast, like that maybe was something that we should have started like building
That
towards
was
in like episode 5,
it
not
was like
like
the next
episode
episode. They're
6.
like, "Oh man,
We
we've
did
been
it.
trying for like
Yeah.
weeks." I'm like, "Oh, we went up that far. We went forward that far because the end of episode, I think 7, is when Homelander gets his V1, right? And then I think it's
Episode 6.
is it episode 6? Okay,
Yeah, because then the
that
end of episode 7 is Frenchie.
gotcha.
Yeah.
But no, I do agree where it was like they're like, yeah, we got this uranium. I'm like, where'd you get the uranium? Like, I understand, like, you guys can just get whatever you want, but like, where did we get uranium from? I'm
Yeah.
like, unless they took it from like the detention center that they were, or the cell.
I think that's like the assumption, but like,
yeah,
that's like 2 episodes worth to of
right,
like doing.
right, exactly. There was something I was gonna say, and I don't remember. It was gonna be Huey related. You know what? Actually, this leads me to another question. Speaking of just like that character, Huey and Jack Quaid in general, what do you think of? And this is something I've seen and I've noticed with this season, and it's probably popped up other seasons. Like this show started as such a Huey centric show, I feel like, and we really kind of moved away from not like completely, but like it's much more an ensemble now. Like, what do you think of that? I guess is my question. Like,
I think it's fine because I think at the end, they kind of the end that we can move on to now, if you want, that they really, I think if you refocus in the last 20 minutes, like, I think that gives you like a lot. Like, again, not to just keep bringing up Stranger Things, but like it is just the last most notable big series finale that happened. Like they didn't really do that. Like they didn't really like focus just in on Mike. Like they did right at like the last minute of the show, like that he gets the final, you know, moment. But I think that the end was really like where it's just Billy and it's just Huey, and all of that dialogue and conversation I think works really, really well. And then the wrap up is all like kind of focused on him. But I do think that the show just kind of like allowed itself to get a little bit bigger. And I think that that's mostly a positive, because then thinking back through the seasons, like I feel like probably season 3 is where he had like the least to do, because that was when he had like he was taking the temporary V, and he could do like the teleporting and stuff, and like everything that he did with that. Like that was like interesting, but like he really didn't have much to do at all that season. And then last season, like I thought that all this, like just in my memory, like thinking back, all the stuff with his dad coming back and like the end of his dad's storyline, I thought was all great. Like I do think that the show just got a bigger scope, and I think that like as long as we kept every few episodes like focusing back in on like a big Huey thing or a big Huey moment, like I think that largely worked for me. But I definitely think that like to me, like any complaints I had like that, I think is forgiven by the fact that like at the end they didn't lose sight of like this show is about Butcher and Huey and their relationship, and the fact that like without their relationship there would have been this like horrific thing unleashed that would have made Billy and Huey and all of the boys just as bad as Homelander, if not worse. You know what I mean? Because then it's like, well, now you're just as bad as them.
And I thought, real quick, I think a scene that really helps with that finale too is the one in episode 7, I think it is, when Jeffrey Dean Morgan is also there in the conference. I thought that was like an amazing 5-10 minutes of them all going back and forth. It really helped, specifically for my memory in general, because obviously we've seen these two and they've butted heads multiple times through the previous, 4 seasons leading up to this moment.
Yeah.
But just having another thing of like a little bit of backstory to Butcher and how that relates to where, like, if he's going, he's burning everything,
Yeah, like you're not going to be able to stop this guy.
Exactly. Yeah. And I thought that really was a strong addition leading into this, that final scene.
And that scene was so good because I think that Jeffrey Dean Morgan was more affecting in that scene than the entirety of season 4. Like, yeah. I think that the writing was better in that scene than the entirety of the Kessler stuff in season 4. Mm-hmm. And I like too that scene also gave us the line of like, Butcher, you're a son of a bitch, but like that actually sounded hopeful. And then that sets up the end of this where it's like he never lost hope. Like that's something that we can take a value from him, even if he, had all these flaws and made all these mistakes and like was going to make all these mistakes at the end. But I just want to talk about for a second too, just the filmmaking, the cinema, the direction and the acting of that like 35 seconds where you see Huey turning into Lenny, then you have the shot of Butcher and it's just Carl Urban, there's no dialogue, and you see his eyebrows like change, and then you see the finger come off of the trigger, and then the shot, and you're like, and it's like that is so well orchestrated to be like the tragedy of it, that it's like he was not going to do it in this moment. Like Huey did actually get through to him and stop him from doing it. But at the same time, it's like, who knows what Butcher might want to do tomorrow? You know what I mean? So it's like this guy just has, there's a Instagram reel I saw that was a clip from Becca in season 2. And it was a flashback to before all of this when he's like clean shaven. And she's like, I don't know what to do with you because like we go out to dinner and I don't know if you're one bad night away from like beating someone to death if they like look at me at a bar. Like, and it's like, it really makes you realize that like, yes, this guy has great qualities and he is a fan favorite and we love Butcher, the whole show. Like, we love this character and we are on his side, but also like he has always had this like dark tendency to him to do the most extreme, the most damage, to teach the greatest lesson. And again, I know we don't want to go like crazy long on the show too, but like I really liked all the stuff with Ryan and him. Like now it could be, you, me, and terror, and and Ryan's like, listen, I love you for who you are, for what you represented to my mother, for the fact that like you are to me like a father figure. Like you are basically like, I basically had 2 dads like the last 5 years growing up. And like, I understand that you are one of them, but like, I just don't want that. And it's like, and I thought that it was great that Butcher was like, accepted that. Like, granted, it was like, he didn't take it well, given what he was going to do, but he accepted it. And he was not going to perpetuate what his father did to him and Lenny onto Ryan. And I thought that was great because, I mean, there's just so many scenes throughout the show where Butcher is just terrible to Ryan because he's trying to get the result. You know what I mean? And it's like, I liked that at the end, once Homelander was off the table, that it's like he just let Ryan live the life that he wanted to live. And I thought that was great. And I thought that the wrap up with Ryan going and living with MM and Janine and Monique and stuff, I thought that was great because like that works so well with MM because like, his job was he was a youth counselor. So like, he's like perfect to talk to Ryan, to be there for him. And, he's going to be a crazy responsible dad. And it was just a great ending for MM as a character. I thought it was fantastic. Let's before we move on from the boys, what did you think about the kind of individual? Well, I want to get your take on the ending in Vaught Tower, but then also let's get your take on like the individual kind of wrap ups as everybody's walking away, and then what we get with Huey and Annie right at the end.
Yeah, and there's actually, I think, two other things I do want to discuss real quick, character-wise.
I forgot about Kevin.
Characters. Yeah, I thought the Vought Tower thing was awesome. Although I did think when he says that I think he says he poured
he poured it in the sprinkler system,
right? Which I'm like, okay, so like,
how do you get it out of there?
How do you get it out?
Yeah,
I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, well, 5 years from now, there's a fire. Like, is everybody gonna die? You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought that was a funny thing, but no, I thought that all worked really well. Like you said, the cut of like his actual brother, and then Huey, and back and forth, and you know that facial acting that you're talking about, I thought was all really good.
Yeah.
And again, I think those two have great, and most of the times they were arguments or disagreements, but they have great conversations back and forth and great dialogue back and forth. And I thought that all worked really well. And it was a good wrap up for both those characters. Was it sad to see, Butcher die at the end? Yes, but I think, it was always heading that way.
Yeah.
I think you would have really had a tough time letting this guy live after everything that's happened. And yeah, I thought it all wrapped up really well. Speaking of Huey, just something that I noticed, and I think this is probably throughout the entire series too, but I just like picked up on it now, was whenever somebody dies in front of him, the blood always splatters on his face. And I think at one point he goes like, "Oh, I got to get a new job." I just thought it was a funny, just like continuation where it's like, no, it's just, that's where it always ends up. It's like, he's always in the wrong
even with
spot.
Kessler last week, it's like, dude, you are in on the plan. Like once you see Butcher go in for the move, like turn your head. He just looks at him like this, and he's like, "Oh, like, close your mouth at least. Oh, father, he didn't see coming."
I do want to say real quick, one character I think is maybe a tad hard done by this season, is the Deep. I just didn't. I wasn't really interested in anything that was going on with him. Him and Black Noir and all that stuff. And you could probably say the same for Black Noir as well. It felt kind of jammed in there. And he's doing all this bro talk, and I think I talked about that about the first two episodes, where it's like I could have done without any of that, honestly.
No cap on God, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I definitely think it's like, because the Deep has always had like disconnected side plots, like he always has. But like, to me, this was like the least interesting season of that. But again, to me, I think like I forgive all of that by like, I liked that they made the right decision of it had to be, they made the right decision twice, where it's like Annie has to be the one to take him out.
Right.
But then they also added that to like, it was also like the fish that took him out because of, how
Sam Jackson.
Totally.
Well, not Sam Jackson. But he warned him. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, it's great that it's like, yes, we know that like Deep, like, I think that like, honestly, the greatest shame of this show is that like in the beginning of the seasons, like Deep was a terrible person who like did genuinely love like marine life and stuff. And he, in service of Homelander, like turned his back on that whole part of himself. And I think that like being his ending, and that being kind of his like comeuppance, that like, well, now you have to face the consequences of that. And the fact that like, even if Annie didn't get the kill, but like Annie's the one who fought him and tried to get through to him one last time, like tried to give him like, not an olive branch of like, we'll let you live, but like, you understand, like, you don't have to do this stuff. And he just, no, that was crazy when he just like lost his mind and just screamed no. But it was like totally ineffective and just like ridiculous. I love that. But what did you think of the ending for Huey and Annie in general? That they're kind of living the happy, quiet life that he kind of always wanted. A kid on the way, and he's the guy in the chair. Yeah,
gets a call from the president looking to to
Yeah.
join back up.
Which is a
no, I
great
thought that was
callback to the line you said about I need a new job.
right. Yeah, exactly. I thought that was all good. I'll be honest, I had no recollection of him being into the whole electrical thing and stuff like that. So him like owning the electronic shop kind of flew right over my head. But no, I think that where they ended up is exactly where they were supposed to end up.
Yeah. And she gets to be a real genuine hero, which is what she's always wanted. So it's like it's such a great I do think that I liked the season overall, but I feel like the season to me could have been as bad as people online are acting like it is. And then this finale still would have, like, I think papered over all that. Like, I was happy with the season and I loved the finale. But I think even if the season was complete mess and this is the finale we got, I think that everybody was wrapped up great. You know, I like we talked about at the very beginning of this review, the only thing I'm unhappy about the wrap-ups is the screen time that we got of them. One last person, what did you think about Ashley finally kind of making her full force, like, I am going to help the boys, as opposed to just like, oh, I kind of understand that I'm like doing bad things or that I'm like on the side of bad people, but like I really don't want to be. But like she finally has her moment of stepping up, and then her kind of end with the newsreel at the end of the show.
Yeah.
What do you think about Ashley?
When she kind of got her power originally, I was kind of like, okay, what are we gonna do? And blah blah. But I thought overall, you know, I liked her this season. I thought, like you said, the ending for her was very funny. And yeah, I thought she wasn't, I didn't think short kind of changed or anything in any way.
Yeah. I think this is Ashley's best season.
Yeah. I think it's more too
she's
because
a great
she's
character. Yeah.
Right. Because she's kind of ingrained already. Like she's the VP and all this stuff. So she obviously needs the screen time as well because she's kind of interacting with all these kind of more central characters that we're focusing on. I think I want a little bit more from Sage, just a little bit more. I liked her scene with Frenchie about love and how that kind of changes the way people react to things and how, you know, she is obviously very, very smart. That's her kind of superpower. And, you know, people's feelings get in the way of that. You know, people don't act rationally when their emotions are involved. And I thought that was a really great scene between the two of them. I thought that all worked really well. Didn't necessarily like the way she kind of just like, she's like, all right, see ya.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
I get
bye.
That. Again, that's like screen time for me. It's just like, I wish there was just more there, I guess. But it's like, I do get that, like, that is what she wanted. Like, she wanted her mind to be quiet or just be completely alone so that she could be quiet. But now it's like, you know, she gets to just go out in the earth. But again, maybe like she's at a Taco Bell watching the newscast at the end, you know, something like that, like something where it's like, she's like, oh, that, you know, those motherfuckers really did it like that, you know, something like that. I think would have been a nice touch. But I do like the kind of this, she gets this nice big shot of it's just her walking out of the house and she's like, and then just kind of like walks off. Like, I get that it was like, they were giving her that kind of ending, but I would have liked to see the character one last time to be like, oh yeah, she like to kind of be like, hey, she gets to live. It's almost like Ashley. Sage gets to live. Ashley gets to live because at the end, they did make a choice that the heroes couldn't pull this off without their help.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's like something that they should both be rewarded for and proud of. And I get that they were both rewarded because they got to live, but
I have one last bone to pick, and I think you already know what it's going to be.
The shot of the Punisher falling off the roof?
No. I got through 5 episodes, I think, and I texted you. I said, so are the Gen V people going to show up or are they? And you're like, they show up. I think the next episode I watched, I was like, oh, here they are. Here and gone in 2 minutes. Max,
yeah,
probably.
Before the title card.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay. And then they didn't show up the rest of the way until the finale, or was it the finale? I think it was.
No, they were in last week's too. They were in the last 3 episodes.
Yeah, I think it's tough because Gen V, and people are saying it was canceled. I don't know. Is that true? Or do they just say,
I mean, it was canceled by Amazon, but I also think that episode 2 kind of wrapped up the 2-season arc that they were kind of working towards. Like it's called Gen V, and it's like, I think that even if we had gotten a season 3, like I don't think that you like go back to Godolkin.
No, I agree. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that it's like it was canceled in the sense of like it was canceled maybe because of the performance, or maybe because Amazon was just like, listen, we can't spend the money right now on 3 live action shows in the boys universe. Like,
right.
I think it's something like that. But either way, I think that like what Gen V was in its first 2 seasons would have looked very different in a season 3. But
yeah, I think it's just tough because at the end of season 2 of Gen V, it's you see MM and you see, I think you see MM and you see Starlight, and it's like, okay, they're going to be a part of this finale, this season, this last season of the boys, and it really just isn't that. And I think they had some great characters in that show, specifically Marie Monroe. I thought she was awesome in Gen V, and to kind of see them a little shortchanged, it was a real bummer. I don't see those characters, at least for the time being, ever showing up again. I could be wrong. And I mean, Marie, I thought they could have worked something in where Marie, you know, she can control the, and I know, you know, Starlight's whole thing was like, you can't control it. But man, if you could have worked that in there with her controlling Homelander's blood or something crazy like that, I thought that would have been awesome. But yeah, it was just a little bit of a bummer to me where it's like they were kind of pushed to the side where it's like, well, just take these people to Canada. And then we'll, you know, that's it. It's like, okay, I guess, you know, and maybe something happens in Vault Rising where they push into the future and, you know, something like that.
Yeah, I think in Vault Rising, I think you're gonna get,
because isn't that show in the,
I think that like the
during
first
World War II?
Yeah,
Okay.
or it's set in the 50s, so it's set
Okay.
right after World War II, I think.
Okay.
I think you're gonna start Vault Rising current day. I think you're gonna Soldier Boy's gonna wake up. He's gonna find out about what happened.
Yeah.
And then I think it's gonna be him going, okay, what is the rest of my life gonna look like? Let's wonder about that while looking back. And then I think we're gonna flash back. So I do think there's gonna be a framing device in Vault Rising that's like set current day. I totally agree with everything that you're saying about Gen V, but to me, once I know that we're living in the reality where we probably won't see these characters again, I think, again, the same way that Butcher let it go for Ryan, I thought that the scene with Annie, you know, talking to Marie, although the, like, you know, I don't know, meeting my hero kind of worked out for me. That was a little like on the nose. But other than that one line, I thought was really good. And I think that, like, and I totally get it. It's like, oh, they're setting her up as this Homelander foil, but it's like that was never going to happen. I think that, like, having it be like, no, you guys, we don't need you to fight right now. We need you to protect, you know, we need you to be heroes right now to protect the innocent while we go into battle. I thought that that was a nice, like, if that's going to be the last we ever see of any of them, I think being like, okay, we're going to take a breath and realize that saving people is just as important as killing the bad guy. You know what I mean? And I think that, and I totally get that it's like, well, on its surface, it's like, okay, it was like 17 people that they're taking to Canada. Like, which again, a lot of Buffalo adjacent stuff in this season. Like, most of the season takes place in a town like 50 minutes away from where TJ and I live. So it's like if they're going to Canada, they're only going off, they're like going down our street basically.
Yeah.
But like, I totally get that, but I did like, I would have liked more, but I also liked what they gave them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But again, even with saying that, I hope we get to see them again. I would love some way to get them back into the story. And it could also be, you know, they're doing the Vought Mexico show with Diego Luna and Gail Garcia Bernal producing that one. So maybe it's a way that they can get, maybe they go from Canada down to Mexico or something like that. I also think that there's just tons of opportunity to do another show like that isn't one of the ones already in production. Like I think that you could just do a show more similar to the main boys show, and find a way to work people in with that. But anything else you want to touch on with the boys before we head over to the Mandalorian and Grogu? Any last thoughts that you have, or anything that we didn't touch on yet?
No, I thought overall it was a satisfying season and finale. And a little sad to see it go, honestly.
Yeah. No, for sure. The ending was definitely emotional. Like all of the emotion, I think that they really nailed on this. I think that it was like I said, whatever you want to say about the season itself, which I liked, I thought that this was a great finale, particularly compared to some recent series finales. Yeah. I think it was great. And I mean, we didn't really touch on it that much, but like I think the online reaction to this season and the finale, like talking about it's worse than Stranger Things and it's worse than Game of Thrones. Like,
no,
you have lost me with that. And I definitely, for me, I think it goes the boys finale, Game of Thrones finale, then Stranger Things finale. In my book, I think there's more good in Game of Thrones finale than probably what we ended up getting from Stranger Things. But I think that this episode clears both of those. I mean, this is in the discussion of great series finales for me, or good series finales. I definitely don't think it's in the discussion of like, well, how bad is it? And I feel like that's a lot of the reaction online, which is like crazy. But speaking of reaction online, what did you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below. I know this isn't a live episode, but let us know down below in the comments. What did you guys think of The Boys Season 5 and the series finale overall? We want to hear what you think about that, so let us know down below. And without further ado, let's go ahead and move on to...
Oh.
Bum, 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 bum. All right. TJ Cornwell, we are going to talk about the brand new Star Wars film that is in cinemas all across the globe right now, in all of the beautiful premium formats that the theatrical marketplace has to offer. We went and saw this movie together in IMAX, which I think definitely was a cool experience. I think there was definitely a lot of cool stuff there to see it in that kind of format. What can we say that hasn't already been said about this? I think we should just focus on the movie itself. Otherwise, we're going to be here all day right now, but we could definitely talk a little more on next week's show for sure. But let's jump in right there. The movie itself, Mandalorian and Grogu, written by Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and one other person whose name
Noah Clore.
And obviously directed by the man himself, Jon Favreau. What did you think about this latest entry, the 12th Star Wars film, 11th live action? No. 12th live action Star Wars film, my bad. What did you think about this movie?
I thought it was pretty bland. And kind of empty, if that makes sense. I think overall, if you've never watched the show before and you are looking for a Star Wars movie to see, obviously, and you say, hey, I haven't seen one since Rise of Skywalker, and I only really watch the movies in the theater, and that's about it. I think this could be a good time, and maybe gives you a taste of the show to be like, hey, maybe I'll check out the 3 seasons of the show now. But if you are steeped in Star Wars, you're watching all the shows, you're watching Mando, you're watching Ahsoka, you're watching Rebels, etc., and you were with the show through Boba Fett and those 2 episodes, Mandalorian centric and stuff like that, I think you look at this and you go, well, why didn't they just release this as like a 3-episode send off or something? There's just not much here for me to get excited about, unfortunately. I thought the intro scene was really good. I had a great time with that, scaling the AT-ATs, all that kind of stuff. But other than that, I was just a little uninterested. I think the highlights for me are Grogu, and the what's their names? The little guys,
the Anzellans, the Babu
Rise
Fricks.
of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Those little dudes, I thought they were they kept me engaged.
That's a big pipe.
Specifically them just
Yeah.
talking off screen, you know, "Oh, we'll come back, we'll be back, we'll be back."
Yeah.
And then he like
First round's on us.
Exactly. Like all that stuff was I found very funny and it worked for me in general. But most of it is just kind of like what you would expect, I think, from season 3 of the show, which I think we can all agree is probably the worst season, unfortunately. It just, for me, it was, and I don't want to say boring because I don't think I was ever like looking at my phone being like, hey, what time is this going to end? But there wasn't much to grab onto here. And it's kind of like, I'm sitting here watching it. And for me personally, like you can, at least one that I really noticed where I was like, okay, well, an episode would have ended right there.
100%.
You know, so I just think overall it is, there's not much there. There's not much, you know, if you're looking for something with some big emotional depth and anything, you're not going to find it in this movie. It's just kind of there. And I think it's as a big point, an entry point for people to maybe watch more on Disney Plus or wherever. And if you're kind of, if you know Star Wars and you're watching everything, like I would say, just don't even bother.
Yeah. I think so. Well, what is your star rating?
I didn't give it a star yet. Okay. I'm hovering around like a 2.5 right there. So I would, that's where I would go.
Yeah. I was hovering around between, like a 3.5. And then I was like, there was part of me that was like, could it get to a 4? Yeah. But I ended up settling on, and I'll say this and then go into my thoughts. I ended up giving it 3.5 out of 5. And I think for me, I think I definitely liked it a little bit more than you, which is the tagline of this show, I think. But no, for sure. I think I liked it a little bit more than I think most people, but that's because I'm the kind of guy that it's like, okay, when Zeb shows up, I'm like, whoa, you know, like, you know, that's great stuff. And he did get some like action. And I think I give it more the benefit of the doubt because I think, sorry, not the benefit of the doubt. It's like something that happened with this movie is like whatever expectations I had, like, because you're kind of, for months we've been bracing for impact of this movie of like, is it going to be whatever? But then it's like you tell yourself, you're like, well, it's probably going to be good. It's got to be, you know, they're going to figure it out and stuff. I think that like the reviews coming out really helped me, like right at the 1 yard line, just drop my expectations and just go in and be like, all right, let's see what this is. And I think because of that, I ended up enjoying it a lot more. I don't really have an issue with the like episodic feeling nature of the movie, but I definitely agree with you. I think there was like 4 or 5 places where it's like, oh, this is the end of the episode. Like at one point the movie just ends and then they go home and then the movie goes again. Which like I enjoyed that scene and stuff, but definitely structurally, like that's how it feels. That's what the movie feels like. Cause it's like, oh, the movie just is done. Like this all gets wrapped up. And then it's like, oh, now we have more movie. Obviously that's connected because the twins, you know, it's not like, oh, it ends and then something totally new happens. It's like, oh, we wrap it up, but then it's not done with him yet, you know? So it's like, then we kind of go back and everything like that. But I do think that, overall, like things like Rada, I thought worked a lot more for me than I thought they were going to. I liked that they like made him a real character, like who was like talking and like had things to say. I liked the droids. Like I really liked like no, yeah,
I did like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked that it was so many like this thing. It's from the comics, the droid Gatra. It's from the Tarkin novel is the first place that it showed up. And then they were in the War for the Bounty Hunters a little bit, and that's pretty much it. So like when Zeb was like, oh, it looks like they hired the droid Gatra, I was like, oh, this could be cool. And then it was. I mean, there was like hundreds of unique, interesting looking droids. And I was even worried about the big like mech guys, but I think because they're used so sparingly and really only for that one big fight, and it's only like a portion of a fight, I think it was more just like cool to see that happen. But I totally get the people that are like, oh, they kind of don't feel like droids. They feel more like mechs or something like that. I totally get that. And I think largely most of the action worked for me. And I think largely all of Grogu worked for me. I agree with you 100%. I think that Grogu, particularly when the movie just gets handed over to Grogu and you're in his perspective, I thought that was like something that I really wasn't expecting from this movie. And I think it like really did great. And when it just kept going, but like he was doing interesting things, it was almost like them being like, this guy is interesting and he can't even talk yet. You know what I mean? Like this guy has thoughts, and this one felt the most, to me, it's the most that Grogu ever felt not like a baby, but like a person who is just small and can't talk, which is what he is. You know, he's not a baby. He is a person who is small and can't talk yet. So I think that really came across well. I think that Sigourney Weaver was a fun energy and stuff. And I thought that largely about 80% of the movie I thought looked beautiful. Particularly on IMAX. You know, I totally understand people being like, you know, the movie looked okay. Like if you're just watching it in a regular theater, I'll totally give that to you. Like we saw it in a huge IMAX theater, so that's part of it. Other than that, man, this is when I come across the aisle to you, man. That script was not ready for prime time. That is one of, I'll be honest, like that is like rough, like really rough, like the amount of times that Rada was like, when your dad's Jabba the Hutt, it's hard. And it's like, yeah, no, it is. I bet you did. It's like I was totally with him the first time, but then when you get to like the 20th time, my dad is Jabba the Hutt. You know that? Like, or like just, it just felt, it had that, you know, critique, that common critique of Filoni in live action of like, everybody's speaking with such like perfect, like diction. Like everybody's like, I need you to tell me about this so that I know what it is, you know? And it's like, everybody just felt so like stagnant in their dialogue and delivery. People who didn't was like Martin Scorsese, I thought was great. And the fish guy that was helping Grogu, I thought that he was great too.
So just real quick, talking about like the dialogue and stuff like that. It's weird I'm surprised to hear you say that Sigourney Weaver you thought brought in energy, because I thought she was pretty flat in the entire time. Wow. But I did like Scorsese as far as like his kind of, you know, like, I thought that was, for me that worked for the most part. And same with the fish guy. I thought he was cool. But no, I do agree where it's like a lot of it was I can't even think of like a line to do, but like just
and
very
part
just
of it
kind of
too is just like, to me it's like Embo is such a cool character in the Clone Wars, and I get that like he's always the big like silent type, you know. But it's like he's just completely silent in this movie, and it's like, well, why is he silent? And it's like, I feel like the answer maybe it's just like, well, if he talks, maybe like they'll realize that like there's no real reason for them to be fighting. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's like, listen, this guy's the real heir. If you just stop fighting me and we like take care of the twins, then like this guy could just pay you. You know what I mean? And I do like that at the end. I thought maybe Rada was going to kill Embo. Like outright. Also, that's the other thing, is like there's no real like death or carnage or like anything like that in this movie. Like,
no, it's just the twins
at all. Yeah. Which I do get is a way to just like have action where you can mow through people, and he does
I
mow
mean,
through like the stormtroopers and stuff. But like,
yeah, I
sorry,
looked
go
at
ahead.
it as like this is definitely geared for me towards a younger age. So I
Yeah.
was like, we're gonna try and limit, the depth and stuff on screen. I could be wrong, but that's how it kind of felt to me. But no,
For sure.
I do agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, and I really liked another sequence I really liked is when I liked the whole like, Pedro getting the helmet off and doing the whole water battle and stuff. I thought that was really engaging and really cool.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like yeah. I don't know. It's hard because it's like I enjoyed it and I did think that it was like fun and stuff. And I liked when all three huts were like rolling around and they were like hitting the floor and stuff.
I feel like you're the first person I've heard say that.
Well, this is what I'm saying is like I liked watching that.
Right.
But it's like the whole like I was like 5 steps ahead of this movie the entire movie. Like it's like, okay, well then he's gonna fall through the ground. They're all gonna fall through the ground. Grogu's gonna lift Rada up, pull him out. The twins are gone. They're gonna get eaten by the fish, and we're all gonna call it a day. And it's like that was 20 minutes before that happened.
Yeah.
The one thing that I was like, ooh, I liked the idea of the Djarin arena match.
Yep.
But man, because even at that point, Mando is CG. It's just 20 CG things pounding into each other for like 15 minutes. And to me, I was just like, okay, this is like fun and interesting and stuff. But it's like, you know what else is like just a bunch of CG like computer things like doing action sequences is like the final battle of Endgame. And like, granted, that's hard to compare these two movies, but they had a similar budget. But also it's like everything in Endgame, like even when it's like a CGI Iron Man, it still feels like you're connected to that real person that it represents. You know what I mean? Like that's when CG is working at its best. Versus like this was just like we have just met Rada. We kind of always keep Din at like a distance. Like we're never like really let in on him. Even when, they take it way down and it's kind of him and Grogu in the forest and Grogu's trying to like rehabilitate him and stuff. Even then, it's like, to me, it's like, again, it comes back to like this whole helmet thing. Like, the helmet thing it's just been plaguing the show since the beginning.
I was going to say, if I can say one thing, and this is me kind of thinking about it, I feel like this, and like I was saying earlier, where if you haven't seen the show at all, I think this probably plays well for you.
Yeah.
And I think this movie, again, for me, it obviously is annoying because I've seen these beats a million times. But for this movie and a new watcher, it hits all those beats of the show where it's like, oh, we got the helmet and, we got this relationship with Grogu and, we're explaining, Beskar and stuff like that, where it's like, if you're a new viewer, you don't know any of that. And it adds some good context for you. But for us, it feels it's like, well, I already knew that, like, you don't
we're just saying things over again.
It's like, you don't have to tell me again, if you don't know who Jabba the Hutt is, it's like, hey, this is who
that
he
to
is.
me was like the worst offense. It's like,
right.
It's like, I'm glad I'm not my father.
Right.
Like Jabba the Hutt. You ever heard of him? Like, and it's like, okay, the audience, I think like we are like, I think the audience is familiar enough with like who that is. And even if they aren't, like a kid who's like, I don't know who Jabba the Hutt is, like, they're not going to like glob onto Sigourney Weaver being like the fearsome crime lord. Have you ever crossed his path? Like, they're just going to see Rada show up and be like, whoa, that's a giant slug. You know what I mean? Like the same way that audiences in 1983 were like, or really in 1977, because Jabba's obviously mentioned in all 3 movies, but like when you finally see him in Return of the Jedi, you're not like, wait, this isn't who I imagined. You're just like, whoa, this guy's a giant slug. Like, what, you know what I mean?
Do think
like,
you going back to the helmet thing where it's like, I think they take his helmet and they literally say like, well, now you are disgraced. We have seen your face and you will have to die because we've seen your face. And
that's what I mean. Like the script, the dialogue is so like, I don't even know, like stale, repetitive, like, and it's so tough because it's like I think a lot of the movie other than that works, but like the script is just like, I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I'm disappointed in the script because it's like so many of the scenes could have been dynamic otherwise, but like you said, it's like, and then now your small child Grogu, which like, when did the twins even find out his name was Grogu? You know what I mean? Like maybe
they just know.
I guess maybe Rada told them or something. Yeah. But it's like, I don't know. And then it's also like, I feel like it was cool that they let Pedro take the helmet off to okay. It's like it was cool that they let Pedro take the helmet off for the action sequence. But the whole point of this show and the movie is that like these two characters are family. And it's like, why would you not like let the character take his helmet off while Grogu is like caring for him, while it's just the two of them, when no one else is around? Like, and I get that the whole and I get that the whole issue with season 3 of like, oh, I need to redeem myself is because he took it off to say goodbye to Grogu. Like, like that was the first like big when they looked face to face to each other, you know? And it's like, I get that, but that was because like Cara Dune and Fennec and Luke and everybody was there around him. So then he had to go and do I got to bathe in the waters or whatever. But like, if it's just the two of them, like, why would you not let Pedro do a big emotional scene as well as a big action scene? I just thought that was such a huge missed opportunity just to like, to endear this character to it. And it's like, I think that they constantly, I think it's totally okay that 3 people play the Mandalorian, but I think that like, they're never going to get over that hump of that in season 1, they tried to just pass it off like it was all Pedro. And I think that like, even, and I love that Lateef Crowder and Brendan Wayne were like 3rd and 4th build in this movie. Like, I hope that they got a good paycheck for that and stuff for sure. But so many of the people I've seen talking about this movie are like, it just whether it's true or not, it just feels like Pedro Pascal is like barely there. Or like is barely this character. And I think that part of that is like the way that he talks, you know, that it's like, well, I think this is that. It's like he sounds a little disinterested, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think that like this movie had so many opportunities to like undo that perception. And instead they were just like, well, no, he's not going to take his helmet off because he doesn't take the helmet off. And it's like, okay, this is a big, huge Disney budget, like huge movie. Pedro's doing all the press for this movie. And it's like, whether it's true or not, it feels like he filmed all of this in like 5 days. Which he said it was more like 5 weeks. But like, it feels like he's barely a part of this movie. He's the main character.
If I can come to Pedro Pascal's defense in a little bit here, I would say when this show first started, he was not the actor he is now.
No, 100%. Yeah.
He was not in Materialist, Fantastic Four, just to name Last of Us, just name a few things that he's been in. Materialist was standing 2 very large projects in Last of Us and Fantastic Four. So as far as, you know, and I've never really had that issue that a lot of other people, maybe I'm just not paying close enough attention.
Yeah, I really don't have an issue with it. It's just, I feel like they could have corrected that with this huge new audience. This was your time to be like, give him 5 scenes, do whatever. Just have him finally say, you know, screw this whole thing with the helmet. This is my son.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I want growth from this character. And it's like, it just feels like we are trapped in this like cycle of just like, he has to be reset to who he was at the beginning every time. You know what I mean? And it's been like, I feel like I'm going crazy, but it's been 7 years of this, you know? Sorry, go ahead.
What did you think of Jeremy Allen White in his voice role? So if I can say real quick, sorry, I know I just asked you and then
No, go for it.
But And this is something I was worried about going to this movie. I was like, why is he in this movie? You know, you got Jeremy Allen White, star on the rise. You know, Bruce. I didn't see the Bruce Springsteen movie. People said it was kind of eh. We obviously got The Bear. You know, he's been in some commercially successful things, I would say. Yeah. And you stick him behind a mic in a CGI slug roll. And then you just you mess with his voice and you modulate it down to this lower voice. I did not see a reason why he was in this movie. I saw a review I was watching the other day where it almost seems like they maybe wanted like a Batista type voice and they couldn't get that, like a lower gravelly kind of more maybe not menacing, but just that kind of voice. And they couldn't, so they kind of went with Jeremy Allen White.
Batista would have been crazy as a hut voice.
Exactly, or something like that. Crazy. Some sort of voice like that. And they just couldn't do that, so they got somebody else and pitched down his voice and all that stuff. I was kind of the whole time, I'm like, you couldn't there was a few moments where I was like, oh, there he is. That's Jeremy Allen White. For the most part, I was like, I don't know why he's in this movie.
Yeah, I think like when he has like vocal strain, when he's like yelling and he's like, I don't know how to do this, like there he sounds the most like himself. But yeah, when it's like when he's just like sitting in his cell and he's like, I don't want to be like my father. It's like that could be anybody. Like, you know what I mean? Like that could literally be anyone. But yeah, I think that like the cast is just a big question mark in this movie too, of just like, and actually, I think it's a big benefit to the movie. If people are always like, when are we ever going to get a Star Wars movie with an alien as the lead? And it's like, I do think it says something that like this movie really did have very few human main characters in it. Mm-hmm. And also, you know, with Mando, obviously he is human, but we don't see his human face. And I think that it was good in that metric of like, oh, it was kind of like a proof of concept that like you could do a Star Wars movie like without that human element and like anchoring it. But then again, I think people might say this movie proved no, you can't, because it doesn't have that like, you know, deep emotional resonance and impact and stuff like that. But we do have to wrap up here, but anything else that you want to go into or anything that we missed? I'm sure obviously I would say we'll be talking about this movie for years, but maybe we won't.
Real quick, one thing I want to shout out, actually, that did work for me. I thought the score was good. I had a good time with it.
Oh, I thought Ludwig like did not phone it in, and I really thought he was going to.
Specifically when we went to, I don't know what the planet was called.
Oh yeah, Shikara, Chicago underworld kind of place.
That kind of music, it made me feel a little Blade Runner-ish, you know, kind of music. I thought that was awesome. Thought that was great.
Yeah, he almost gave another thing. I was talking to Tori, my girlfriend, about. I was like, I loved that in this movie. Actually, each planet really felt different. It felt like a lot of the sequel trilogy. It's like, okay, we're doing forest, desert, and ice planet again, and then we're gonna do that in every movie. This was like, you know, you got a scene where they're driving with speeders and stuff in traffic, and they're like, "Hey, put your seatbelt on," and then like, but then you're also like, an hour later, you're in this swamp with this like creature and Grogu, who like clearly this creature has just lived at this hut his whole life, no pun intended, this hut, his whole life. And it's like both of those things coexist within the Star Wars universe, and I think that this movie did a great job of that, of like showcasing why the Star Wars universe is very interesting. And I think to the point about the score, I think that Ludwig made each planet come to life with its own unique sound, that I thought, like you said, I think didn't go unnoticed. And I will say too, you know, and we did talk about positives at the beginning of this for sure, but like, I think there was a lot of genuine comedy moments that did work, that got a big reaction from our audience. Now granted, we're, you know, opening night IMAX audience, you're gonna get good reactions, but like I still think like it's important to get those good reactions, and there were elements that were pretty funny. I just think that it's to me, it's like, I think why I gave it a 3.5 is because to me, I think this movie comes together to be greater than the sum of its parts. And I mean that as a compliment and as a negative, because
Right.
I think that its parts are lacking. I just think when they all came together, it worked better for me than what was just there on the screen. I think that it
Yeah.
worked better to come together for me as an enjoyable Star Wars experience and everything like that. Um, and I think that it's like I just wish that the script was better. I think that's it. I think I just think that like I wish the script was better, and I wish that like the action had a little bit more realism and character to it. I think that's kind of my biggest takeaways.
I think last thing I'll say is, and the more I think about it now, even being a first time watcher of, and say you've never seen anything Mandalorian or anything, and so somebody comes up to you or me and it's like, hey, I want to get into Mandalorian. Should I watch the movie first? Should I watch? Even me saying that whole thing where it's like, oh, this is a good entry point. I still think you probably would be better off just starting the show, specifically the first 2 seasons, because I think they offer more. They offer more emotionally and just things that he's dealing with, specifically the helmet thing. It might be
100%.
an annoyance to watchers of the show, and they might not fully kind of bring it all around, but those are some interesting moments I think that they have through the 2 seasons that really kind of add on to this character. And specifically, the last episode of season 2, I think is universally really, really well liked and loved. So I would say, if somebody comes up to somebody and is like, hey, Mandalorian, what's the deal? I'd be like, I think maybe you just go show. And then, hey, if you're interested in the movie, great. Maybe show it. I think it's good. I said to Brandon, I was like, this might be a good one. Take your son to, or watch it on Disney Plus, something like that. But other than that, I don't think it offers really anything extra. And last real quick question I have for you: Yoda and Grogu, same species. Do they only know how to build one type of house? Is that a thing? They both built this dome.
I think maybe, I wonder if that's like just like,
I'm saying that more.
I definitely thought about that. I don't know. I don't have the answer, but I definitely thought about that, where I was like, is this just like they're like, oh, he's building it and it kind of looks like Yoda's hut because like that's how we're writing it, or is it like that there's something intrinsic that like where they are from, like this is what feels like home to them,
right?
But again, that's like we didn't get any information. We didn't use this movie to get like any more information about like who Grogu is or where he comes from. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking about previous to the Clone Wars in Order 66. Like obviously I know that we get that, but like how did he get to the Jedi Temple? Where is he from? Like, maybe
I don't think you were going to get that.
And I think that's totally okay.
Right. Yeah.
But I'd like to just get a little more context of like how it all fits together. You know what I mean?
And I'll be interested to see. And the question is like, where does I don't think Mando, I think is just we're sunsetting Mando at this point. I don't think we ever maybe see him ever again. Maybe in some sort of they ever do like another sort of they take another crack at a bounty hunter show or something like that. And I know because
the last line of the movie is literally, "Okay, Grogu, it's your turn."
Right. And I know we've kind of gone 1 for 2. Boba Fett is meh, and this is obviously a better show. And Grogu, I don't know. Like I saw a thing where it was like Starfighter is a intro to the Rey movie. Where it's like the kid that Ryan Gosling's character is transporting is force sensitive and he's taking the kid to Rey, if that's a possibility. So does Grogu show up in a movie? I don't think another movie. I think that would be smart because I think Grogu is just such a bankable character, honestly. But do you have any ideas, or you're thinking like maybe where specifically Grogu? Because again, I don't think Mandalorian is gonna show up again.
I mean, I think the most logical next place would be the Rey movie, because it's like, okay, he can show up and be like now he maybe looks like he's 10,
or Ahsoka season 2,
but can't. Like maybe he looks like he's 10 can talk, can walk, like all that stuff, like, you know, because now he'd be 100, you know. And I think that could be an interesting place to do him, but like he can't get like the spotlight in a movie like that. So it's like, I really don't know. I don't know how you like would put the spotlight back on Grogu other than going like, we're going to do a movie set 600 years in the future. You know, I really don't know how you do that, but I would like to see more of this character. You know, I think that there's interesting things to do, but I just would like to see him kind of be his own character and not just like a little thing that like another character carries around, you know?
Yeah.
And I think too, it's just like big missed opportunities of just like, you know, I think he's just like too young also. It's like, but it's like, that's what we started with. So that's kind of like what we're stuck with. You know what I mean? So it's like, you really have to go way out to do anything interesting with him. But yes. All right. Well, anything else that you want to add before we go?
No, that's it. I think
what do you think about Zeb?
Zeb, I thought was fine. I liked his little action scene that he got, but you know,
I would have wished that he would have, you know, been like, you know, I used to know some Jedi named Kanan and Ezra. Like if he just stopped the whole movie and just told the audience about Rebels.
Streaming now on Disney Plus.
Yeah, exactly. 4 seasons actually. And I was in Mando season 3, if you remember.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that will do it for us today on this episode of Planet Film Network for Planet Film Live, even though it's pre-taped today. But let us know, what did you think about The Mandalorian and Grogu? Are you going to check it out in theaters? Are you going to wait for Disney Plus? Are you just not really interested in it at all? Or are you super excited for it? Let us know everything like that below in the comments. Also, like I said, jump down there, give us your thoughts on The Boys series finale, everything like that, what you guys thought, how you guys felt about it, about both the season, the episode, and this movie that we talked about as well. But that will do it for me. I've been one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I've been another host, TJ Cornwell. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And we will see you next time.